On a Thursday edition of Club 904, we have big game James Coleman making his return to Club 904 because, folks, let's just say that big game needs to take a victory lap in lieu of the comments from Jaguars head coach Liam Coen yesterday. What were those comments? How big is this victory lap? We're going to dive into that, as well as the Jaguars Week 11 matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers. All that and more coming up on a Thursday edition of Club 904. As our friend DJ Dell so eloquently put it, homies! We're excited to be hanging out with the homies on a Thursday here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. I am Mia O'Brien. James Coleman will join me here momentarily. Before we welcome in Big Game, do want to thank everybody who's watching live. Want to thank all of you who are listening on demand, either at the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. In case you missed Tuesday's episode, know a lot of you guys really appreciate when Austin Lane sticks around after Brent and Austin to do a little film breakdown. Be sure to go check that out in lieu of the tape that we burned following the Jaguars' epic collapse at the hands of the Houston Texans. Our next guest, I think he's going to maybe make a comment or two about that. However, I do think Big Game James, we've moved on from Houston, maybe, possibly. What say you in lieu of this Week 11 matchup with Los Angeles Chargers and the victory lap you're about to take?
No, we haven't moved on. I'm very upset. How do you so many things and so many people to blame. I have my 7-on-7 trials. I was with the youth, and I was in such a happy
Bryson
place.
Wright like to suit up for the Jaguars, Mandarin University's own, number 2 recruit in the class of 2028 he is, or 29?
Yeah, number 2028. Well, he ain't doing nothing this weekend because he's got to sit out for this game. So they could use him. I definitely can tell you one thing he's going to do. But I don't want to lose him for the rest of the playoffs because one thing that's consistent about the Jags is that young man, Sunshine with the great arm, will throw you into the infirmary. So I don't want Bryson taking any unnecessary shots. But how you can't get a stop and how you can't sustain a drive, just one. You don't have to do a lot of them, just one. And then you still have an opportunity and it's not one thing and it's not one person's fault. But as I tell many of people, as Mia, you're the highest paid person on the Mia O'Brien network. So if you're messing up, you're the one that everybody's going to hold accountable. So when people tell me it's not Trevor, we need an offensive line, I say, well, if you have Mac Jones is only $2 million. You know what you can do with $2 million? I think 2 minus 50 or whatever his cap hit is, gets you a lot of offensive linemen. We need another pass rusher. You know what? 2 minus whatever his cap hit probably gets you another pass rusher. The problem is you got to be able to hold accountable the players that you paid to be able to put in a position. And it's not an indictment. It doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means that what I'm seeing on the field is not that of which we paid you. And we paid you to be a leader. And we paid you to make the plays. And I shouldn't have to do certain things when I pay you. But it seems like but I'm also a football coach, and I've been in football for a long time. Something that us people who've actually played, we try not to tell people with opinions that you don't know ball if you think that it's somebody else's fault. That I love everybody in Jags media, but you can't say that when people who actually played ball and you can Google them playing ball are telling you things that people who know ball know. And what we know is that Trevor is not worth the top 15, not even top 10 salary that he's commanding, or he hasn't played to that level. So, and that's why you lost that game to the Houston, to a backup. That's the craziest part. But again, it's not absolving Camp. It's not absolving anybody else. It's just holding accountable to the one that's the most glaring because he gets paid the most. And that's what I want to reiterate. When you are paid the most money, you have the most expectations. Everybody gets paid. It is their job to do something. But when you get paid more, exponentially more than everybody, it's more so your job to make sure it's functioning. Or just if we get out of the who likes who, are you getting your value, your money's worth? This chili I'm eating is delicious. It costs I've gotten my money's worth out of this chili. If I would have paid Ruth Chris prices to eat this chili, I would be more disappointed in the chili because it's not a Ruth Chris. Actually, it's better steakhouses than Ruth Chris, but I'm just going to use that because everybody knows it. So the fact that I probably paid $10 to get about 10 bowls of chili, I'm extremely happy about my chili right now. I'm not very happy about that.
To that
chili.
point, let me, since you came in a little bit late, let me make sure the listeners can see your chili. Let me get your one shot set up, James, because now that we've brought props into the equation, like
it's really good. It's meaty.
Show us the chili. I love it.
It's meaty. It's got beans in it. It's cold. It's not as cold as it was the other day, but it's hearty and it's filling. And I don't get that from Trevor Lawrence's play. So, or the defense, or for a lot of people's play for that matter. But I'm just trying to use things
that people don't realize when they click play on Club 904. They have no idea that they're going to get chili takes and analogies to the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars to said chili. Yeah.
Look at Liam. Liam will use this in the press conference in a few days. He's going to say Trevor is not good chili.
Great segue, because he's not all that in beans right now. And also you are all that in some beans because you called what we are about to lay out for the listeners who may have missed it step by step. So let's start with on Wednesday. Liam Coen met with reporters as he does each and every Wednesday. And James, let's take a listen. What did he have to say?
There that you feel like he's not giving me enough of this?
No, I think, Trevor and I had a good conversation yesterday in terms of just, hey, man, cut it loose and let it rip, when we do have some of those opportunities. And, hey, man, we don't want to turn the ball over, right? We want to turn it over on defense and we want to keep it on offense. But we can't, be thinking about that or trying to play to not make a mistake at all, right? And so the message for Trev and our conversation is to just go cut it loose, let it rip, and see what happens, right? You don't need to be Jordan, point guards, facilitators, distributors. That's what we need, and that's what we talked about yesterday.
The funny thing about that, James, is that, it sounds eerily similar to the next clip that I'm about to play. And this was after the Jaguars' Week 6 loss to the Seattle Seahawks.
Game manager thing has people in a blender. Like, it is nothing wrong with being a game manager. You want to, it's like in the 80s and the 90s, and I know some of y'all didn't watch basketball then. It was pure because it was a point guard driven league. And what that meant was the point guard's job wasn't to score points. It was to distribute. The shooting guard's job was to shoot. The small forward, and then you may bang it to the big man. The point guard's job was to delegate, and then when it was necessary, knock down a clutch three and play great defense. That's what, if you have a quarterback that can do that, you will win a lot of games.
So, big game, James, for those of you who are listening to this on demand on audio and maybe don't have the aided visuals that those who are watching on video do, that was the voice of Big Game James about 3 weeks ago, in which you predicted what Liam Coen is now preaching to his quarterback. And so the floor is yours to react and respond and take this victory lap. But my bigger overarching question, James, and we're going to look into some numbers as well, is that we have seen this offense where Liam Coen said post-bye week, we need to lean into the screen game more, a.k.a. short, intermediate throws for Trevor Lawrence. And now we are hearing he needs to just let it rip, which may suggest pushing the ball downfield more. And so I'm also a little concerned about mixed messaging. I'm curious your response to his comments yesterday.
Well, let it rip. He would have to explain the context, but I can let it rip means just make a decision and get rid of the ball quicker. Again, our line sucks. Yes, they do. You can put up all the, advanced analytics can give you whatever you want. You know what? The real advanced analytic you need to see, the average time of getting rid of the ball is 2.3 seconds. And we're not, and I want to know what the problem is. We're not winning, so they won't release our shot chart, basically, his throws, and because they only release the winners. And we're not going around looking at how long he holds onto the ball. You don't have 3 seconds. You don't have
according to next gen stats. Yes, according to next gen stats.
We didn't have a line when we were 5-2. Like the problem with the excuses that people are having is the team hasn't changed. Like none of this stuff is old. So what that means is leaning in the screen game, making him make quicker decisions. He actually is better when you speed up the pace of play to make him not have like to make force him to do things. So I can understand what he's saying with that, especially when your line can't necessarily stay in the same blocks. Get them moving, being able to use momentum, get a bigger guy on a smaller guy. Those things traditionally will make you better, and you want your wide receivers to be able to catch it in space and be able to stretch it. But I use the next gen stats to say also with 2.3 seconds being your average time, look at the majority of passes that are completed in the NFL. A majority of them are behind the line of scrimmage and under 5 yards. When I look at our offense, I'm looking at us trying to throw the ball downfield too much, which would mean a slower developing play, which would mean if you have a bad offensive line, it is a recipe for disaster. So I think my guy Liam is a ball knower. And ball knowers know that the problem is your quarterback is operating outside of his gifting. We cannot help how much he's getting paid. We can't hold him accountable to it. That deal was made before this regime came in. But what we can help is trying to force him through the media, trying to force him through play, and him himself trying to be something that he is not. I know we live in a world, in a society where people feel like they can identify with whatever you want, and that is your right. I identify as a 6'4", 250-pound man with abs. Unfortunately, that's just not the reality. And if I go around acting like that, I'm going to get some pushback, and it's okay. But if I act like I'm about a 5'11", 6'1.5" in Jordans, 275-pound former fullback, and I do fullback things, I'm going to flourish. And that's what they have to do with Trevor. And that's what Trevor has to embody. And that will keep Trevor in the league for quite a long time. Guys who have done this and get paid, Mac Jones is doing it. Actually, the entire San Francisco 49ers, every quarterback they put in there understands that they are not the pretty girl at prom, but they are happy to have a date. And they make sure the date is fed and well treated. Right now, you guys are treating Trevor like he's the finest woman in all of Jacksonville, and he's not. But he's not a 2. He's about a 6.5, 7. And if you dress him up really good, he's going to turn some heads. And that's what we have to do in order to win. Because I'm also on wax and record saying that this Jacksonville Jaguars team can make the playoffs. It has to make the playoffs. You cannot make a bad decision with how you're using your quarterback and top it off with wasting draft capital on a number 2 overall pick that can't play, and a myriad of other different things that we have done. But I do like that we're at least seeing a guy give some pushback to Trevor and letting people know that his baby might be a little ugly. It's okay, media. The press box food is not that good. It's cool. I like it. You can still
Just to
watch
clarify,
your game.
you mean Liam Coen is okay with calling out Trevor as ugly, not Trevor Lawrence's baby is ugly.
No. I don't know what Trevor's baby is.
Sure
his baby is. I'm sure his baby is cute. I don't know like what the baby. It's an adage like
really for a while, but now she's adorable.
It's an old adage that's like you gotta let somebody be able to say your baby's ugly without being offended, because then you can dress it up pretty, and then it's a pretty baby. Like if you ever hear an old black woman tell you, "Man, that baby is sure dressed nice," that is her way of saying your baby is ugly, because most babies are cute. But what I'm saying with that is
that's Trevor Lawrence right now. He's dressed nice.
That's Trevor. Trevor's dressed nice. We got to dress him up a little bit more. It's cold outside. Put a coat on that baby before he catch cold. But we've got to do these things. And I'm telling you guys, there is a lot of money in media if you just tell the truth entertaining. But if you tell a lie because you feel like it's going to get you more access, it doesn't. They're not going to. Like, it's only one station that you can work for in the city. If you say something out of pocket, that they will threaten to fire you. And if they do that, it's only going to make you more popular. Trust me, I've done the research. You don't got to do it. No ball. Watch ball, see ball. If the ball don't go to the other team, then we win. Like don't turn. What did he say? No turnovers, right?
Yeah. Well, he said. Well, that's another thing I do want to touch on before we look into some of the Warren Sharp numbers about schematically what this offense has looked like under Liam Coen. There is also at least a semblance of a notion, both from me, also not afraid to talk the truth and not afraid to discuss chili here on Club 904. There is at least some notion that while Urban Meyer may have been his own can of worms, Doug Peterson perhaps took some confidence away from Trevor in that because he was so concerned about the reckless care and abandon of the football that now Trevor is scared and isn't as confident and not reckless, but isn't going to rip it in the same manner that he would have, say, in 2022. What do you say to that, where maybe this is a quarterback who not only Liam has to redevelop his footwork, but he also has to redevelop his confidence?
I think at the end of the day, we make excuses for people that we like. I wish, I put on Twitter and stuff, I wish that people defended me as much as they defended Trevor Lawrence. Like, I really want that kind of fan base. Like, I love this for you people and all of this stuff, but it's not going to help you. I'll give you Urban. Urban was a terrible decision, and a lot of people made a lot of bad decisions with Urban Meyer. Doug Peterson not only was a quarterback, they brought in one of my favorite names and coaches in Jim Bob Cooter. They brought in about 5 quarterback guys, and it still barely worked. Actually, that was the best year we had.
Yeah, it was with Jim Bob. Justice for Jim Bob, by the way.
Yeah, so like they brought in people to help you, and it's still not helping you. And to be honest, I teach quarterbacks at I-9 to use their feet and eyes. It's one of the first things you're taught when you're a quarterback. And to hear a guy going into year 5 say those things scares me. Because what are you? You have a quarterback trainer. You have a lot of things that you're investing, and nobody told you these things. I call BS on some of it. You know why? Because I know personally he's worked with a good friend of mine, and the one, Dennis Thompson. And I know Dennis Thompson didn't just tell him to go out there and not use your feet, not use your eyes, not do these different things. So maybe they haven't. I don't know. But I do know this. Better quarterbacks, or excuse me, he's got all the tools. People have been fired for a lot less, and he's been rewarded for not doing more. And at the end of the day, if you didn't know, it's your job to know. You are held accountable for the things that you don't know. Like, I might not know the speed limit when I'm driving down the street, but if I'm doing 55 and I get pulled over, I'm going to be held accountable for that because it's my job to know. So you gotta get better. But I mean, and that's just the thing. And again, it's not all on him, but when you get paid the most, everybody's going to turn their attention to you.
Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Let me get you in the film breakdown room, James. So let's start with this. Last time you were on the program was following week 6. Daniel Griffiths, our friend here at Action News Jax, posted these numbers comparing Trevor's first 3 weeks following his next 3 weeks. And while, yes, week 6 was a loss and week 2 was a loss, and we know that the 4-1 start was euphoric, the argument here is that maybe Trevor was taking better care of the football weeks 4 through 6. I don't know if it's a matter of he's pushing the ball down the field more, and then maybe the Seattle Seahawks defense shook him. Before we get to some of the sharp numbers, I'm just curious, your thoughts. Does any of this actually bear weight on Liam Coen's comments from Wednesday?
I think it does. I think he was a little bit, obviously, when he's more confident, he's throwing it. When he's more confident in moving the ball better, then they're also keeping the offense more balanced, and they're able to move the chains. But I think in particular, that you brought up a good point. The Seahawks defense is just really good.
Yeah, the Seahawks defense breaks Trevor Lawrence. Like, that's, I mean, they may actually be the best defensive front in the league. So I don't think, like, outside of the Texans, by the way, I think you've just faced in 4 weeks' time, you have also faced arguably 3 of the best 4 defensive lines in the National Football League. But that shouldn't scare you from throwing the football.
But also, in even with all of those different things, you had the Seahawks just whooped us, but the Texans, you had your shots to win, and I think
Seattle, for what it's worth, was a 1-possession game. You also had some shots to win there.
Yeah, and that's the best thing in all of this. My bad. The only team that just whooped us was
the Rams.
The Rams, but you had your chance to win, and I think there's been numerous times when you were in a position where if the defense makes a stop, you win the game, and a team scored when they shouldn't have scored. But the flip side of that is also true. NFL is a team most games are closer than what you imagine. They are 1-score games. So the Jags were in position to win those 1-score games as well, with Trevor having the ball at the end. And then what you can't, and it amplifies the jokes when Trevor, is getting sacked, because Mia, quick. You didn't play football, right?
No,
I'm just
I did
sort
not.
of-
They did not
Right.
have flag football up in New Jersey, much like Caitlin Clark, complained how Iowa didn't have it when she was growing up, when she was here in Jacksonville a few weeks ago. Did not have it in New Jersey. So I
I
played
just never
powder
want to
puff.
make. I never want to make assumptions.
No, you're good. You're good.
7 seconds left. 7 seconds left, or short time, no timeouts. What are something that you would tell a quarterback having never played football?
Throw to the sideline, whether that is out of bounds or to your receiver, so that they can step out of bounds as soon as they collect said pass. Do not take a sack. Do not throw it to the middle of the field, especially when you do not have timeouts.
And you didn't play 5 years in the NFL, or play 3 years in college, or be a high school All-American. So when people tell me, and one thing I also said on your show, we have to limit the amount of Trevor F-ups to under
the brain farts.
the brain farts
The
to under
euphemism we
5.
like to use. Yes.
Yeah, to under 5. And the problem is at the most inexplicable times, you have the guy who is, again, the highest paid employee on your team. I can ask my 7-year-old that same exact question, and he would tell you, Daddy, you're not supposed to take a sack with short time. Would it have won the game? And should the guy have gotten hands to the face before that? No. But we have a weapon, even though he's kind of been shook a little bit. But it gives hope to the city that if you get to the 50, you can actually win a game.
Yes.
Like,
no, and I think, and here's
you
the crazy
start on the
part.
35. You if another team scores, you start on the. So just again, we have a $50 million annual investment in one position group. More than that, but just one person in that position group. And all you're realistically asking him to do at any given point is get 15 yards.
That's it.
Does that?
And by the way, like what's crazy is we broke down that final drive with Austin on Tuesday, James, and like we talked about it. Like it was the microcosm of the Trevor Lawrence experience, because he takes a sack on the first play of that final drive. He puts you behind the sticks even further. Then he somehow scrambles for 21 yards. So now all of a sudden you're in third and manageable. And so then he hits Parker Washington on a dime on the out route. And oh, wait for it. Chuma Edoga hands to the face, penalty, bring him back, replay, third down. And that is where, to your point, you have 7 seconds left. You just got to get a quick something, some sort of play off to get it to your receivers, get them out of bounds, and then set up Cam Little for a Hail Mary field goal, unless you don't believe in Cam Little hitting it from 65 plus.
Well, you don't really have much of a choice.
In that case, go for the Hail Mary. He wasn't even looking for the Hail Mary, I don't think.
One, I just also want to address, please I want that young man who made the hands to the face, because there was other things that he did too. Just go to the never mind. I can't say that. What I want to say, I'll say on my show. I don't want you canceled, but there's some things that I would like him to do that would require harsh medical treatment afterwards. But I just, because I don't understand that either. But the biggest point with Trevor is, if we're losing games and you're making the right decision, I'm willing to die on that hill. But when we're even the best play of the year, the Kansas City win, even that just looked hard. It shouldn't have been that hard. And even the Kansas City, I think it was he played possum, and it fooled the Kansas City defense because they thought he was dead. They didn't know there's no way this guy fell 3 times. Like, the play's got to be over.
He's got to be rolling on the ground. No.
Yeah,
he got back up. All right, let's get to these Warren Sharp stats. He did a whole breakdown on Trevor Lawrence and how this is Trevor's fault, and we just need to accept that this is what he is right now. But this part I really thought was interesting, James. Liam Coen lowered Trevor Lawrence's early down target depth massively, from 9.1 yards last year to 7.6 yards this year. Despite having shorter targets, Trevor Lawrence's completion rate is worse this year, and that is even when you remove the drops. We'll get to those numbers here in just a second. His early down efficiency has cratered. I look at that, though, and I don't know if Warren took this into consideration. The number of pre-snap penalties, like the hands to the face. I know that's not pre-snap. That's actually during the play. But the number of offensive line penalties, I know it's another excuse. But I would be curious if you accounted for those penalties, only because I do think that's a real reason the Jaguars have been playing behind the sticks on first and second down. And so because you're in first and long and second and long, that's where, even if it's a shorter target, he's still short-circuiting in his brain. And here we are, right back at the same exact spot.
Yeah, all those things you have to hold into account.
Again, do you think it's like actually like he should be allowing him to push the ball down the field more? Is this an intention for the screen game? Like, what do you make of those
What
numbers?
I think is the early target, like bringing it down, is trying to get the ball out of his hands quicker. And the problem is, and this is the middle sentence is the one that's the indictment. Despite shorter targets, his completion rate is worse. And even when removing the drops, which is what everybody loves to blame, but when you throw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and the person's only 5 yards away, like you're gonna drop it unless some people aren't designed to catch the pass. Like you throw me to something that fast, I'm throwing it back at you. Like you got to know how to throw a catchable ball at times and realize who your target is. But it also shows that maybe some of the times the ball is too high, sometimes it's off target, and he is a taller quarterback. So there are things in account that you have to do. And I told people I've caught the ball from tall guys. It stays way, way high. It stays up there. It's a different angle in which you have to kind of go and get it. But the stats just show that these are mental errors and things that he can't, like, he's got to be able to get out of it. And that would be my only critique of it. And that's really, again, he says, even when you account for drops, we take drops out, which is why I'm telling people sometimes it's not so, like, yes, he doesn't throw a catchable ball, in my opinion. It's also that I don't think he makes the best decisions, because sometimes even when he makes the right decision, the ball isn't put in a great place. It is thrown high, it's underthrown. So there's a lot of things that he needs to be able to do a little bit better.
Well, to that point, I'm curious, knowing that, and let's kind of run through a little bit of the injury report. Parker Washington did not practice Wednesday with a hamstring injury. Brian Thomas Jr. was back in practice in a limited capacity. We know Travis Hunter is done for the year. I mean, so Jacoby Myers, Tim Patrick, De'Ami Brown, like, are those receivers who have the God-given ability? I mean, Parker Washington's the first name that comes to mind because of the measurables, and maybe he's not the biggest guy, where if you're throwing it high because it's high for someone who's 6'5", imagine if you are 5'10", 6 flat, then it's especially high. And so does that factor into any of this too?
Yeah, dude. Which is why, I like Travis Hunter. I understand what it is, but one of the things that a lot of people do too often, and one of their excuses for why you draft certain players, is ticket sales. And one thing I know for certain, what boosts ticket sales more than anything? Winning. When Jags win, it's hard to get a ticket there. When they lose, anybody can get tickets. You should have got the young man from out of Arizona. You got to draft guys that will make him better. Big play catches, big catch radiuses, big hands, things that will help advance you. Because again, let's just look at the two things. We're complaining, we're winning, we know this. But we have a similar record to the Carolina Panthers. And the Carolina Panthers went and they didn't worry about ticket sales. They went and found a guy that actually will make their petite quarterback princess better. We went and got a guy that we think might help, but we know the fans are going to be energized with, and he dances really, really good. And it's sound football. It's making sound football decisions. And they got to continue. They got to do those things. But again, I want to reiterate: it's not just about Trevor not being good or not being good. It's about holding accountable the highest paid employee. There's no way around it. There are no stats. Quarterbacks get all the credit for wins when they have nothing to do with it, but they also get and the flip side of that is when you lose, you're going to be the first one that people look at, because when you win consistently, you're going to be the highest paid player. Hey, Jalen Hurts can't get around it in Philly, and he's winning, but he's winning games like a wing T quarterback in high school with 100 yards passing, but because he's the highest paid employee. So we can argue all day about those stuff, but I always argue, again, the chili reference, you can use that anytime you want, Mia. When it costs me $10 and I can get 10 bowls out of it, I'm happy with my money. But when it costs me $100 and I only get one bowl and it wasn't that satisfying, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it could have been the onion's fault. It could have been the beans' fault. It could have been a lot of things in here's fault. But I paid $100 for the chili bowl. I expect the chili bowl to be filling, at least, to give me my money's worth. And regardless of what you want to say, Trevor Lawrence is not getting that, because you can't. You're going to eventually run out of people to blame. Here's another interesting statistic that nobody else could get. How many head coaches has Trevor Lawrence had in the National Football League?
3.
How
not
many
including
quarterbacks? How many quarterbacks do you know get a pay raise that have gotten 3 guys fired? I mean, I've got 2 guys fired. Most guys get somebody fired, they're not coming back. And Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying is like Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback after his main quarterback got hurt. It can't be everyone else's fault when there is a consistent thing there. And that's not me asking to trade Trevor or anything else. All I ask is that we hold people accountable and we make him be what we all want him to be, because all of our jobs are easier when the Jacksonville Jaguars are winning.
Amen to that. And the standard is the standard, as a wise man once said. And that's what Big Game is trying to get across here on this fine Thursday in Club 904. A couple before we let you go, James. First and foremost, our friend Dell has thoughts on the chili. Quote, I was at Ruth Chris. They were showing hella love. Jalen Ramsey, never forget. I knew you'd love that one. Dell also wants to say that we are paying Ruth Chris prices for Wendy's chili when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, although Wendy's chili
is fire. It's just good. You don't want to pay that kind of money for it. It's fire because of what I would if this was Mac Jones, I would have a completely different take.
There it is. Men in Teal podcast wants to see the stats from Warren Sharp. Here are the stats with regards to if you remove the league leading drop numbers. Trevor Lawrence will be 25th in accuracy, 27th in EPA per attempt, 29th in completion rate, 30th in touchdown to interception ratio, and 34th in touchdown rate at 3%. That's one man's numbers.
32 teams.
Yeah. I guess because like the Browns had Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel.
I just like saying that with people. Yeah, I know why it was there. Hey guys, I mean, no matter what you say, if you actually, a lot of us don't, and I'm not suggesting anybody else. I like Men in Teal podcast. I've been on that dope podcast. All I do is watch football. I don't know how to do anything else. I'm not very good at it. I have all 22. I've watched the all 22. I really want to do a Jags breakdown, but I become too negative when I'm looking at it, and so I step back. And again, the all 22 gets you different angles. I promise you, if you're really watching this stuff and you're just removing anything from it, and you're just watching it, and then you watch other games and other people do it, there is no way you make this many excuses. Because if the goal is to make the playoffs and to win the division, the excuses that we make don't matter. It's not getting done. And it's a team game, and there's more to it. But you got to look at people's value to the team based on other different things. Very, very good quarterbacks have had their careers ended with less mistakes and less F-ups than what Trevor Lawrence has had. Hey, I'll be honest with you. If you're winning, who cares? Mark Brunell's stats or something. Go look at Mark Brunell's stats. They're some of the worst stats you've ever seen for a quarterback.
Maybe it's just this franchise.
Yeah, but you know what Mark Brunell did? He won.
Right.
If he was winning, none of this would matter. And people play for Mark Brunell. And that's how I don't mean this in a bad way. It's why I can't really just keep arguing with Jag fans, because we don't know what good quarterback play is. We've never had it, but we have had winners. And I'll take bad quarterback play that wins all day over a pristine guy that does everything right, but we never win again.
Let's wrap with you with this, James. Let's go back to something you said off the top, this idea of you're going to the prom and you want the prettiest girl at the ball, a.k.a. Trevor Lawrence is this $50 million girl, but maybe is more of a 6.5 on the scale of 1 to 10. Not a 2, but a 6.5 where you have to dress her up a little bit. And in his case, dress up his quarterback play a little bit. With the big bad Los Angeles Chargers coming to town this Sunday, what does Liam Coen have to do to either dress up Trevor Lawrence or account for his deficiencies against Jim Harbaugh and LA?
Well, with this awful offensive line that we've had since the beginning of the season that did have a top 5 rushing attack, we have to figure out how we get a top 5 rushing attack, even though the running game wasn't as bad as what people think. But you got to get that going, and he's got to get rid of the ball quick. Once he gets rid of the ball quick, we'll be a lot better. And I don't just mean screens, but it's got to be accurate. And I'll say this, they have to figure out a better way to play complementary football. So to take some of the onus off of Trevor, good D and good top wins you a lot of football games. So your defense has to figure out a way to stop a quarterback who actually is pretty good,
despite a God-awful offensive line, mind you.
Again, there is no such thing as 5 all-pro offensive linemen. I promise you, go look at it, or just don't look at it. Listen to other fan bases. 3 of their offensive linemen suck. 2 are probably good, and that's just the truth. That's just the reality of the game. People are it's like that. So, but I think if you're getting rid of the ball with Trevor, and again, let's stop putting Trevor. Let's stop put a governor on Trevor. 40, 30, 35 attempts, 30. That's just not conducive. I bet if people want to do some stats for me, and I'm not saying because I just don't have the time to do that. Like, tell me how many games Trevor has won when he's thrown it over 40 times. And it's probably not as well. He ain't won very many games, but it's probably not as high as what you would think it is. And the only thing I have to say with that is when I look at Blake Bortles, when we were really being analytical of everything, when Blake threw it under 25 times, we won. And I'm not saying go Blake Bortles style with him. Maybe give him 30 passing attempts, but keep it as balanced as possible, and you'll win the game. And even in all of this, the Chargers game is a winnable game. But if you allow Derwin James to be Derwin James, if you allow some of the other guys to be who they are, you're going to have some guys in the infirmary. And we already are paying out a lot of money.
25% of the roster did not practice yesterday or was limited in practice.
I mean, to his defense, it's that part of the season where you take what is it, basketball calls it load management or whatever.
Yes. Which we're probably going to get there once we're at 18 regular season games. Let's be real here.
And you just have to get, like, it's a physical game, but it's amplified when you are getting banged up because you're having to make catches that aren't routine. You're having to take hits that you wouldn't normally take. And again, I just really think that the light bulb can click. And I think we need him. We win him, but we do need him to be successful. And that roster is good enough to be. That roster should only have 2 losses at this juncture.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment.
As bad as everybody is saying it is, you can unequivocally say we've only gotten our asses whooped once.
Oh, well, once, but then I would also say the Seattle Seahawks are just a better.
The Seahawks whooped a better.
Even then, you lost by 1 possession. You still had a chance. But
so
yes, you should have won the Bengals game. Should have won the Texans game. And instead,
the Rams whooped us. That's the only team that whipped us. So again, I don't care what you say about the offensive line. I don't care what you say about a lot of those different things. We've only been whooped once. And when you go back and you look at it, the team does need to play better. And I'd argue that the team needs to play better, and it will play better when the highest paid player on your team plays better.
I did like from Travis Hunter, reportedly told Liam Coen that whenever the Jaguars go into 2-minute, he has no doubt they're going to score. And I think that reading between the lines, that is the number 2 overall pick who caught a stray or 2 here today. But we wish him well as he's on IR for the rest of the year. That is Travis Hunter saying Trevor Lawrence is at his best when he's not thinking, when he's not having to constantly be worried about, well, I don't know what, when he is, in the words of Liam Coen and big game James Coleman, just being a point guard and just letting it rip. So appreciate you, James.
MF for ball. Just remember that. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. MF for ball. Throw it where there are less MFers at, and it always works. And unless they drop it.
And run the ball and establish it. That would also be nice for a team that was, to your point, once upon a time, a top 5 rated rushing outfit. We appreciate your time as always, big game, James. I know at least one person, and by one person, I mean Dell, is going to create some new chili meme from today's episode of Club 94.
I love Dell. I miss Dell. Listen to Big Games BS and give me them damn memes, bro. I'll see you.
Give him the memes, Dell. I can't. I love it. Thanks, James. Appreciate you. And we appreciate everybody hanging out on a Thursday edition of Club 904. Dell is there, James. So if you're still listening, he's going to get you your memes. We still have some work to do here on a Thursday edition of Club 904 before we pass it off to Fleet and Footy here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. We're going to dive a little bit further inside the numbers when it comes to Lad McConkey's usage in particular. Great story from our old friend alert, Dan Popper of The Athletic. We're going to look at some of those numbers coming up next here on a Thursday edition of Club 904.
Welcome inside the Armor Guard exterior and gutter helmet showroom. There's a lot going on, like glass exteriors, replacement windows, and down there we have the retractable screens and awnings, plus hurricane protection. Let's talk more about those gutters, and to do that we bring in Kevin. He's the owner, he's the expert. Why gutter helmet?
Well, gutter helmet's truly the only maintenance-free product. It lets the trash and debris go on the ground, the water wraps around and goes inside. Unlike filters, they sit on top of the gutters, and the trash and debris build up on top of filters, which requires maintenance. With gutter helmet, we're going to keep you off the ladder, the most dangerous thing in your garage. With gutter helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. So get off the ladder and put on the helmet. Gutter helmet.
Get a free estimate at gutterhelmetofnorthflorida.com. You can also call 904-762-7779 or visit the showroom on St. John's Bluff Road in Jacksonville.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants.
We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter.
Right now, you can get a free Kinetico reverse osmosis system with a purchase of a Kinetico Premier softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Sun's out, suits out. That's right, it's summertime in Florida, which means it's time to say goodbye to bulking season and hello to shredding season. But if you're like me, you're having a hard time sculpting and shaping those final pounds. That is until I came and saw my friends over at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Right now, everyone is hopping on the Evolve X train, and the only destination is finding your perfect summer body. The technology uses electrical muscle stimulation and radio frequency energy to cause your muscles to contract, all while heating up those deep layers of your skin and tissue to produce collagen and reduce fat. It's like doing 1,000 sit-ups in 30 minutes. No pain, no needles, just results, right? That's right. So leave those winter layers back at the station and come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Welcome back to Club 904, syndicated on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channel. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe wherever you are watching the Action Sports Jacks or my personal Twitter account at Mia O'Brien TV. You also can subscribe to the O'Brien NFL Notebook right now. Link is right below me. If you also want to go to my Twitter page, go to that pinned tweet, the video at the top, click on it, second tweet right below. You will find the link to subscribe to the O'Brien NFL Notebook. That's where my reports from practice, scoops, and a whole lot more, maybe even some additional podcast material over the next few weeks. It is all available right there. A lot to do before we get out of here and make way for Fleet and Footy here in the Action Sports Jack studios. I want to look at some stats that our former friend, he's still our friend, maybe, possibly. We'll see this weekend when he comes to Jacksonville. Daniel Popper used to cover the Jaguars for The Athletic, now has done so for the Chargers each of the last 6 seasons, and does a great job in doing so. Some stats he put together with regards to Ladd McConkey. Georgia fans know him all too well. The second-round pick of the Los Angeles Chargers 1 year ago. Largely their only receiving option for most of his rookie campaign in terms of a premier bona fide pass catcher. But now with Keenan Allen coming back to Southern California after a 1-year foray into the Midwest, and with Oronde Gadsden, the tight end rookie out of Syracuse, I was going to say Orange, yes, out of Syracuse, really emerging as a go-to option for Justin Herbert, it has forced defenses to pick Allen, who, as Liam Coen noted in yesterday's availability, has been targeted more on third down than any other receiver in the National Football League this year, or Gadsden, who has emerged again quietly into a pretty reliable, and for the first time seemingly in Justin Herbert's career, a consistent young tight end in the pass-catching game. And so if you're going to double those two players, that frees up McConkey. And so teams are basically saying, all right, he's an undersized slot receiver. Yes, he can flex out. You could argue that Parker Washington is a poor man's Ladd McConkey. I'll let you debate that among your friends. Point being, he can also play the X and the Z if you need him to. Part of why Los Angeles drafted him was because of his crafty route running at Georgia, the injury history notwithstanding. And so from True Media and our friend Dan Popper at The Athletic, since week 6, Ladd McConkey is tied for second in the National Football League in catches with 30. He is 5th with 418 receiving yards. He also leads the NFL in receiving yards since week 6 versus man coverage. And so that's where I bring it back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I say, how are you going to cover Ladd McConkey? We have lamented on this show, on the Locked On Jaguar Squad show, all over the place about the open receiver in the flat, whether that's a tight end in Brock Bowers when the Jaguars face the Las Vegas Raiders, or in the case of Nico Collins, who maybe not necessarily in the flat, sometimes it was the running back coming out of the backfield, but seemingly available on every slant. I almost combine the words intermediate and slant together. Slant, short, intermediate route. I do not want to see Ladd McConkey be the player that the Jacksonville Jaguars defense says, we'll just take our chances with him. We'll leave someone with him one-on-one. And if he beats us, oh well. Because as you're seeing through those numbers, again, tied for second in the NFL in catches since week 6, 5th in receiving yards. This guy can do damage. He had 4 catches against the Pittsburgh Steelers and went for over 100 yards on Sunday Night Football. So I'm fascinated to see how the Jaguars cover him, knowing Jarian Jones, friend of the show, specialized in man coverage when he was at Florida State, would like to play a little bit more man coverage perhaps. And with Jordan Lewis not at practice Wednesday, if he can't go for a second straight week with that neck injury, Jarian Jones will be in line to start on Sunday at the bank. He's playing the slot, which is where he played last year. He'd get to play more man if Ladd is operating out of the slot, but he may flex out. And if he flexes out, who's going to win a foot race? Ladd McConkey or Buster Brown? That's a big question. Greg Newsome playing a little bit more off last week against the Houston Texans. Maybe you say to him, I just need you to be sticky in coverage. Don't try to be playing a little soft zone. Like, I need you to be a true man-to-man corner and try to win one-on-one against Ladd McConkey. Because all I know is that between Bowers and Nico Collins, either a wide receiver 1, and we documented this on Tuesday's program, either a wide receiver 1 or a tight end seemingly goes off against the Jaguars. And the numbers suggest if you're trying to take away some other aspect of the opposing offense, that some other aspect will benefit. And that's part of Popper's argument in this story, is this idea of Ladd McConkey has benefited from Gadsden and his emergence and from Keenan Allen's return to Los Angeles and that already established rapport with Justin Herbert. Speaking of the rookie tight end, want to leave you guys with a little bit of Q&A, yes, but first I want to tackle the injury report for your Jacksonville Jaguars as well as those Los Angeles Chargers. So, several players DNP, did not practice for the Chargers on Wednesday. Many of them rest-related, notably Allen, center Bradley Bozeman, Khalil Mack, Tier Tart. These are veteran players getting up there in years. This is a Chargers offensive line that is without its 2 starting first-round tackles in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. I know a lot of people have circled Trevor Penning, who was just traded at the deadline to Los Angeles from New Orleans after a failed experiment in the Big Easy as a former first-round pick himself. And so we'll see what happens there, but they're going to have most of those offensive line pieces. Gadsden, after a successful MRI, it would appear, because he practiced in full on Wednesday, following the injury he suffered against the Steelers, was a full participant. And then limited participants included, most notably, Deion Henley, the star linebacker with an ankle injury, Quentin Johnston, speaking of first-round picks, with a shin injury, and then Lab McConkey with an ankle injury as well. For your Jaguars, we already talked about it with Big Game James. 25% of the roster either did not practice or was limited on Wednesday. And so I think that the return of Ezra Cleveland will be huge. We also documented that on Tuesday's show. In case you missed it, go back and listen on demand to Austin Lane and yours truly. The idea of Travis Etienne is averaging over 7 yards a pop when he runs behind the left guard. I think the two are very much tied together when it comes to Ezra Cleveland not playing against the Houston Texans and the Jaguars struggling to run the ball. I also think the Texans defensive front had something to say about that, but I'd be curious what Ezra Cleveland coming back Sunday and Brenton Strange potentially returning from IR. That's what he's targeting. We'll see if that is actually what comes to fruition. Liam Coen kept using the word optimistic and hopeful with regards to their star tight end. But at the same time, if now you're going to lose Parker Washington, who did not practice on Wednesday, to a hamstring injury, and we do not know the severity of that injury, it may be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But maybe it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because you get Ezra Cleveland, Brenton Strange, and then you're only 1 step. Okay, math is hard for me. Let's get to some of your questions before we get on out of here and make way for the boys from the Jacksonville Armada. Laughing at a couple of you guys. Little Big Man enjoyed the chili talk. Drafting Travis Hunter was like putting custom wheels on a Kia. Interesting. Okay. I think with the Travis Hunter point, again, we've talked about this before on the program. It's always been about the long-term play. They were not trying to say, okay, you played every single snap in college. All right, you're going to play every single snap in the NFL right now. It's always been a long-term play. I don't know what the behind-the-scenes plan is. If I did, either I'd be sworn to secrecy or I would try to tell you. I don't know what the step-by-step plan is for Travis, but all I can tell you is that it is a 30,000-foot plan, not just a one-by-one year, game plan. Dan, summer, I just had ice on my car. Time to update the ad. Don't worry. Brent Martineau was, speaking of ice, with the Iceman. And so I did not get the new copies of the commercials, but we will get those soon here on the Club 904 podcast. Dan also asked, am I wrong for asking for a tight end to be called up? Nobody seems to care. I was there with you. I thought it would be hilarious to have Justin Herbert's brother, Patrick, play against the Texans last week. The possibility of them being on the field together this Sunday at Everbank Stadium. I do think Hunter Long still not practicing Wednesday, but Brenton Strange practicing largely. I forget exactly what they classified him as, but point is, from the videos, because I was not at practice Wednesday that I could see, he's out there. And so if you get Brenton Strange back, you have Johnny Munt, you have Quentin Morris. I think you could operate with those 3 tight ends and be just fine. As Aspen makes her way into the studio, folks, oh my goodness, in case you watch Action Sports Jacks, you may be familiar with Olivia Tasley's dog, Aspen, who's trying to invade the podcast. We're always here for some pups. Let's hit a couple more questions before we get out of here. But to your point, Dan, I do think they're going to stick with those 3. I would not advise putting Quentin Morris on Khalil Mack like they did Danielle Hunter this past week. Not exactly, not great. One more from Ether Dark. With all the noise around the Jags D-line, why get rid of Saunders? He only played in 2 games. Great question, and probably the best place to end on. Colin Saunders reportedly waived by the Jacksonville Jaguars. We received some word, but then there was still clarification needed. By all accounts, he is no longer with the team. He is free to sign with another club. He has played during his short-lived Jaguars tenure. He was active for 2 games on the game day 48-man roster. And I just think that his job is to be a run plugger and to stop the run. And the Jaguars did not stop the run against a Houston Texans. Hi, Aspen. Here, look who's here, everyone. Hello. Against a Houston Texans run game that really just has not been good this year. And he was getting blown off the ball. And so I think it was only a matter of time. Hot take. Maybe he ends up back in KC. Just file that one away, folks. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on Club 904. The boys of Fleet and Footy have already made their way with Aspen into the Action Sports Jack studios. She won't be on their program, though. Stuart Weber is yelling at me across the table. Stick around. Be sure to follow and like and subscribe to their channels as well as mine. But we appreciate you hanging out with us, and we will see you on Sunday for a post-game edition of Club